Alright. Alright, good evening. My name is Clinton Reese, and I work for Jollyville Fire Department, and I will be giving you guys a presentation tonight on salvage and overhaul. This is a very vital part of actual fire ground operations. And just to start off first, so I get to know the room, could you just go around and give me your name and where you're from?
Hi, my name is Brandon Prince, and I'm from Houston, Texas.
Sweet.
Cole O'Reilly, and I'm from Leander, Texas.
Awesome.
I'm Maddie Valera, and I'm from El Paso, Texas.
Sweet. All right, awesome. Well, guys, obviously we're all from different parts, but essentially salvage and overhaul still be the same for all of us, regardless of where we're from. So let's get into it. Course objectives. Tonight, what we're going to do is we are going to be able to walk away from this class, and you're going to be able to identify when salvage and overhaul operations are needed. You're going to also be able to determine what type of tools to use for salvage and overhaul. And lastly, and also very important, is be able to analyze those structures that you're in for fire extinction, which is also part of the overhaul process. If I'm moving too fast, let me know. If you have any questions, you can feel free to raise your hand and we can discuss it. Let's see. So we're going to start with salvage. This is just a basic, simple definition of what salvage is. So essentially, we get there to the fire, it's burning, and we're in people's homes and they have important properties, so it could be records, photos, anything, right? Our biggest thing is we want to make sure that we can protect what we can in their homes. So this is where it comes into play. So salvage is the protection of buildings and their contents from unnecessary damage due to water, smoke, heat, and other elements. The only thing out of this that we can control is the amount of water that we put in that structure. So that's something we'll get into later in the PowerPoint, but essentially salvage is what we're going to do to kind of protect these people's homes or these commercial businesses' important documents. Any questions?
No, sir.
Nope. And then lastly, just you see this down here, effective salvage is good public relations. When you take care of other people, they will be happy for that. All right, and we'll just kind of skim over this. Strategic priorities. This is kind of giving you just a layout of the type of structures you may come encounter with. You have residential, which is homes that we all go to when we leave the station. Commercial is going to be places that we shop in or we gather or do different types of activities. And then lastly, industrial, think warehouses, chemical labs, those type of places. And for one important thing when you think about, before you can get to salvage and overhaul, you have to have a good scene size up. Because if you have a good scene size up, it can kind of tell you where to start your actual salvage and overhaul. Does anybody know where you start salvage and overhaul when you're on the fire scene?
No.
No? So a good place to start with salvage is going to be close to the fire, right? Like you want to be able to get close, or if you can, within reason, of course, be able to protect the contents that are closest to it, because obviously those are the ones that are most in danger. So essentially, with a scene size up, that's what's going to happen when you, as soon as you're arriving. Essentially, your officer that's sitting in that passenger seat up front is going to communicate to the command as well as dispatch, and just essentially tell them what he sees or what she sees. Any questions? Awesome. All right, and tactical considerations. This is something that you just want to keep in mind once you do get on scene and you've given the size up and you do see the fire. Essentially, you want to be able to think about always mitigating as much damage as possible. Yes, obviously it's on fire, or the structure may potentially be about to collapse, but we still want to treat that person or that business's property with respect. So that means when you're going out to do Like let's say there's a locked door or a riser room you need to get in to shut the sprinklers off. Forcible entry, like we want to make sure that if we don't have to force the door, we don't. If there's a key, use that key. But if we have to, of course, do it responsibly and not just tear the entire hinge of the door off. And then, of course, earlier we talked about application of water. Obviously, not spraying unnecessary water that could cause water pools or any type of additional water damage to those floors. And then also here, you see we put tactical considerations overhaul. So when is a good time to start overhaul? How are we going to start overhaul? Do we have enough manpower to begin overhaul? So those are things just to think about as the fire scene progresses itself. Alright, so as you can see up here on this front table, I have a couple examples of what would be common salvage and overhaul tools. As far as the most important ones that we'll use is going to be a salvage cover, and depending on your department is like your haul runners and then water vacuums. And of course, all of our trucks, we do have the scoop shovels. So these are going to be very vital to our operations to make sure that we can save people's property. So here in this section, there's different types of, or different methods to unfold salvage covers to make sure that we're protecting their homes. So I have a couple slides for you to just look over the photos. So essentially what happens is once we deploy the cover and we cover up, let's say it's a TV or a mound of just clothes that that they own, and then once we get back to the station we clean it off. Obviously we have to put it back on the truck to get ready for the next use. And this is how we fold the cover. So there's 3 easy steps. Prince, could you read these 3 steps for me?
Yeah, so you're going to place the cover on a clean surface with finish side up. You're going to fold the corners approximately 12 inches. Bring the outside edge to the middle of the cover from both sides.
Awesome. Do we have any questions about the folding the cover itself? So what we're going to do is, obviously I have these pieces of equipment up here, but after the instructional piece we'll go out and we'll take a couple turns to use the salvage covers and deploy them and fold them back up, so that way we understand how to do it if we ever have to get on scene and they ask us to do the salvage and overhaul. Alright, and then these are just the other additional steps. So could you read Form 5 for me as well, Chris?
Fold the cover in half, again over the folds that were just completed, so quartered. Fold the quartered cover in half. Both personnel face each other at the same end. Make a fold every 10 to 12 inches and continue until the end of the tarp.
So as you can see here, it's pretty much going to be almost like a hot dog style, and then once you get to the very bottom, it starts turning into like an accordion almost, so that way we can store it in one of the compartments on the truck. And then this is very important because this is actually how you deploy the salvage covers. So you have, your 1 firefighter throw, 2 firefighter throws, and then your 2 firefighter balloon throw, as well as 2 firefighter modified balloon. And on this upcoming slides, we have a couple photos for you just to kind of get a general idea. And as you can see, just imagine if we were on scene and you have ceiling falling and smoke and dust and water dripping from the ceiling from how much we sprayed, and this table is just a pile of that person's important belongings. We want to make sure those get covered, and that's what we do with the salvage cover, is to protect it from any of the outside environments. So as you can see, that's step 1, step 2, and then lastly step 3, to fling the cover out big and wide, and then once you get down here, you tuck it in. So of course this is the other 2 firefighter balloon throw. And just in case like they wanted to salvage the furniture, this is a perfect opportunity to use the covers. And then this is the last one, other method that you're able to do as well. Alright, now overhaul. Overhaul is very important as well. Could anybody tell me what overhaul is? Alright, so essentially, overhaul is what we're looking to do to check for what we call fire extension. So imagine this room over here was on fire, and we get some water on it, and we get the fire down, and then we get in there. Now we're looking to see in the ceilings to see if there's any additional fire, if it's spread anywhere else. The only way we can do that is by looking through the ceilings, the walls, and the floor. So you do that, and essentially you need tools, and that is what these are up here for. So as I said, overall, the objective is searching for hidden fires. So we got to make sure we be very careful about how we go about using these tools. So pulling ceiling. When you pull ceiling, you're going to use this thing that we call a pipe pole. It comes in 3 different sizes. We have a 6, 8, and 12 foot pipe pole. And essentially what will happen is you get to that ceiling and you'll poke a hole in the ceiling and then you'll pull down. And the reason that we do that is to see if there's any additional fire moving away from where we are or where we put the fire out. Another method to pull ceiling here we have is the New York hook. So it does the same job as the pipe poles. And one thing to note too though, as far as from a work perspective, overhaul is a very taxing thing on the body. So you've already fought the fire, now it's time to now it's time to check for fire extension. This is where you're starting to wrap up the scene and you're probably going to be a little more tired. So it's very important to have good form when you're pushing up and pulling down. And also for windows and doors, we could check for or do overhaul through those as well. So essentially, we would hit the windows in the corner and then clean the sash, and then we would pull the sash out. And that's just a way for us to be able to get in and look clearly within that next house that's over or that next commercial building to make sure that it's clear. And here, this is just a little demonstration of how to pull the wall. And as you can see, it looks like he's using a New York hook, which is this one back here. And obviously, to even get to that point, we would use an axe, or we could use a K-12, just depending on what you have on scene and what's available. All right, so we're going to wrap up here pretty shortly. Overall operations, just here at Jollyville Fire Department, per our policies, we do not ventilate from the roof, which means, getting the ladder, getting on the roof, and then punching holes in the roof. We just don't feel that that's the most efficient and safe way for us, so we do not do that here. But that is also a part of overhaul, depending on, the department that you go to. But like it says here, if needed, check for extension, either pulling the ceiling from inside of the house or looking the attic. So that means just finding the attic stairs and you climb up in there and you can use the TIG, or you can obviously use your eyesight with a flashlight to make sure you don't see any fire. And here, just to kind of bring it all together, we have 2 videos of what would be considered salvage operations and salvage overhaul. So we'll only look at one, just depending on the time.
Do I have to X out of it and open it up?
Yeah. actually, what we'll do is we'll save that after we go out and look at the salvage covers and let you guys get some hand time on the pike poles as well as New York hooks and all of our other equipment. So that way you can play with that and then we can progress to actually make water chutes as well with the pike poles. We have any questions? Zero.
Let's go put some hands on.
All right, well, thank you guys. That is it for our class.
That's good. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.